Thank you. That was Whitaker Locke coming to us recorded with our opening hymn. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Columbus, Georgia. I'm Bill Harlan. I'm your volunteer service leader. You might have noticed that during that opening hymn, we focused on a photo of Don Nahley. We have some sad news this morning. Don passed away on Friday from COVID-19 and complications from other illnesses. Don has had a rough time the last few years. That photo was taken almost 7 years ago during a lunch that evolved into our UU Friday lunch group. Just one of the many ways Don contributed to our fellowship over many, many years. Dick McMichael and Ed Wilson, who have known Don for many decades, will have more to say about his passing during Joys and Concerns. So it is with a measure of sadness this morning that I welcome you to our UU Fellowship. We are an inclusive spiritual community of people who support each other, not in a common creed, but in our many varied, unique, and responsible searches for truth and meaning. Our services are always centered around a talk, and today's talk comes to us from Puxatawney, Pennsylvania. Our member, Danielle Neale, will explore the idea of Krampus, who is a character that embodies the darker side of Christmas and many winter solstice celebrations. Somehow Krampus, who is, he's not the bad Santa, he is the worst Santa, seems a fitting subject for our last service of this fell year of 2020. So before we light the chalice, let's check in with David Rush for some Zoom reminders. David?
Thanks, Bill. As usual, we are recording this for those that prefer to join us on YouTube. So if you're not interested in having your face show up on our YouTube video, you can stop your video now. And of course, we always encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love having people here live, but we also glad to have people that can watch our videos at their convenience. After the closing hymn, we will have special presentations, a new member induction, and we'll have Q&A for the topic of our program here on Krampus, as well as a social time. And that will all be unrecorded, not recorded, and after the closing hymnal. Back to you, Bill.
Thank you, David. All right, I have some announcements too. Next Sunday, January 3rd, our first Sunday service in the year 2021, lay leader Rick Spradlin will lead the service, and he'll give us the talk, which he has titled Judge Not. And it's about how actions, not appearance, reveal character. Which is a very UU message. And speaking of UU messages, I'm still searching for speakers for January, February, and beyond. If you have any ideas about that, if you'd like to talk, or if you know somebody who would be a good candidate, please contact me personally. If you don't know how to do that, you can get a hold of me at our email address for the fellowship, and that's uufcga@gmail.com, uufcga@gmail.com. Also like to remind you that our Wednesday night discussion group and our Friday lunches, which Don Nahley helped found, are continuing through the holidays. We found out that a lot of people need those during the holidays more than ever. So watch your email for notifications from Elise or from Brenda Stevens, and you'll have information in those emails about how to join via Zoom. I'm also going to take this opportunity to remind you that in addition to our regular offerings that we do each week to keep UU running, we're also involved in several social projects. We're collecting warm jackets and coats for Paz Amigos, which helps immigrants in need of winter clothing. We're also collecting blankets, underwear, for the Homeless Resource Network, and you can drop those off at 2 big boxes on our front porch at the fellowship. If you want to donate to Paz Amigos, contact Judy Barnett. If you don't know how to do that, you can always use the uufcga@gmail.com address. And finally, during this holiday season, we've been focusing on Feeding the Valley, a great food bank organization they are really swamped with requests. So you can donate to the fellowship and make your check out to UUFC, and then you can indicate on the subject line that this goes to either Give Away the Plate or Feeding the Valley. So let's begin centering ourselves for this service, and we do that by lighting the chalice, which symbolizes reason, tolerance, and freedom, and also respect, compassion, and love. Now let's affirm the 7 principles which sum up the core values of Unitarian Universalism. Number 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. 3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Number 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. 5 is especially important this month. The right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. So parentheses, don't forget about our special election for the U.S. Senate on January 5th. 6, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. And 7, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Another way we proclaim the vitality of our fellowship is through sharing brief and personal joys and concerns. As I mentioned, we've all been affected by the passing of Don Nahley on Friday. He was 90 years old. So I'm going to turn to Dick McMichael first, who knew Don for more than 60 years. Dick?
Well, thanks a lot, Bill. Well, I've known Don, as he said, for 60 years. I was a booth announcer at WRBL TV at the time, 1957, and I decided that I needed more money because I just gotten married. So I went to Atlanta and got a job at WSB Radio. In the meanwhile, Don Nahley was working at WGST Radio in Atlanta, and he decided he wanted to get on television. So when I left, that created an opening that brought Don Nahley to town. He took my job as a booth announcer. Well, I worked for 4 years at WSB, and that was quite an experience. Then I decided I wanted back in television, so I came back to Columbus, eventually to TV. And Don Nahley, by that time, had moved into sales. In the meantime, he had also joined the Roselle show, At Home with Roselle Fabiani. And he was on there every morning with Roselle and Doug Wallace. And this was a morning cooking show, so to speak, and it featured guests and all sorts of celebrities, and people would come in to be interviewed, and Don and Doug would help with those things. And so that's how I got to know Don, and we became good friends. And at the WRBL at that time, there was the drama group, and the drama group was associated with the Springer Theater. And George Gingell, who was the program manager at the time, and he was also a big prime mover who helped restore the Springer and got it going again. Therefore, he was very much involved in plays and so forth. And so we were very much involved in plays and so forth, including Don Nahley. And at one point, Don and I were in the same play together. It was called The Little Foxes. I played an unscrupulous character called Uncle Ben Hubbard, and he played a scrupulous character. And I forgot his name, but we were at the Springer together. And so we got to know one another pretty well. And social events, he would have us over to his house for parties, and we would do the same thing. And so we had a lot of mutual interest, and we were the same age, almost exactly the same age, both 90. I'm 90 right now, and of course our families got to know one another also. And Don and Carol had four children, three sons and a daughter, and one of their sons was about the same age as my son Rick. So, and they were both in Hardaway High School, and they were both in the Hardaway High School band, which was a very good high school band, with Allentown and won a national competition there. But anyway, they had a ball game over in Phoenix City called the Stag Bowls, a football bowl game, and they invited some of the smaller college teams to participate. They would come from all of the United States. And so one year they invited the Hardaway band to play for the halftime. So Don and I both went because both of our sons were in that band. So we had that connection, and we were good friends over the years. And then we became good friends again in retirement. He and Al Fleming and I had sort of a luncheon club. We would meet once a week and have lunch together and get together with our families and so forth. So yeah, Don was a very, very good friend of mine, and I miss him a great deal, as we all do. And I remember when he first came to UU, and the big reason he came to UU was because of me, because I told him about it. He tried it once, the first day, and he came out of there and he said, "That's for me." He liked it from that day, and he became a big UU from then on. We'll miss him a lot. Now let's go to Ed, and because Ed has remembrances of Don too. Ed.
Thank you, Dick. Don Nahley was a great friend, and he was a gentleman, and in my view, he was a model UU. His passing is a great loss to us, but first and foremost, a loss to his family, and we want to extend sympathy to them. He was 90, but he died too young. He is surely missed by us all, and he will be missed here in this fellowship. I want to put in a word of appreciation for his wife, Caroline, who often brought him to our services. Don had encountered some serious health problems, and Caroline often provided the transportation that he needed to get to the fellowship. Being Catholic, she did not share his religious views, but commendably, I think, she supported him in his devotion to the fellowship. We owe her a debt of gratitude for that. Don had a 55-year career in radio and TV. When his path and mine crossed in our media activities, it was always my pleasure to see him and to talk with him. A few times he had me as a guest on his Coffee Time TV program, and I found him to be a congenial and engaging host to the program, a real pro in the business always. When he joined the fellowship on the 1st of July in 2007, you can imagine the cordial welcome that we extended to this well-known TV personality. His public persona was friendly and genteel. It was a great thing for us to learn that his private personality also was friendly and genteel. Don loved this fellowship, and he was a supportive and loyal member. He was proud to be a UU, proud of his relationship with the UU Fellowship of Columbus. What a pleasure and privilege it was to have him among us. He was consistently friendly, kind, and respectful of personal differences. Let's honor his memory by cultivating these same virtues in our fellowship and in our own lives.
Thank you, Ed. I really appreciate that. And now let's open it up for, and Elise and David will keep an eye out if anybody else has a joy, a concern, or a joy this morning. We'll give you a couple minutes. You can share that by using the chat button if you prefer, and we'll keep an eye on that too. Anyone else?
I have my own personal joy for all of you. Thank you for a wonderful Christmas. I love you all and appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thanks,
I'd like to
Elise.
I'd like to share the joy of so many people have contributed to the Homeless Resource Network boxes. And I will be organizing everything so I can take it down to the Homeless Resource Network this week. It's been wonderful to see the response. And certainly with this cold weather that we are having, this is something that those people on the street really, really need. So keep up the good work, people. Anything, any little gift, whether it's blankets, whether it's a tarp, whether it's socks, underwear, is very, very welcome. Thank you again.
Thank you, Susan. We appreciate that. Does anyone else have a joy or concern? Seeing none. Our celebration of life toast is unique to this fellowship, written by our very own Ed Wilson, who just spoke to us. We're doing the toast a little differently on Zoom. You can join from home with your cup of coffee or other beverage. Remember that our toast carries no doctrinal significance. It's not a sacrament, simply a warm tradition we invite you to share. So please lift your cups with me, and I'll read the toast, and we'll all join together on the last line. We celebrate life with its beauty and its pain. We lift these cups in tribute to the achievements of human minds and hands, and in sensitivity to the frustrations of misfortune and heartache, not fixing blame or credit for the outcome of chance, sensing the risk, savoring the joy, sharing it all, knowing of the certainty of death, and remembering the value of each moment. We drink our toast to the celebration of this time, to the future, to each other, to the throbbing of the earth and sea and sky with life together. We drink this toast in celebration of life. This morning's offering will now be given and received in the spirit of grateful fellowship. And there's a little bit of change, a little change in this process this morning. Our PayPal account has been down. We're switching around some electronic things, which have been not as easy to change as we thought. But you can still mail your offering in to UUFC at P.O. Box 698, Fortson, Georgia 31808. And you will find that address in the chat. I believe Elise is going to post that. We're going to have an electronic payment method back soon. While you search for a stamp and an envelope to write out your generous end of the year donation, Whitaker Locke will play for us.
Just see our actions, like good and bad, as polar, and the pun is fully intended, by the way, and punish accordingly. Not only that, but what happens if we aren't good? When did Santa go from being a right jolly old elf to a chastiser? To answer this, we need to go back to when it all began. No one knows the year exactly, but the origin story for this darker side of Papa Noel starts with pagan Norse mythology. It's believed that Odin, ruler of Asgard, was actually one of the earliest forms of Santa, who, during the winter solstice, would lead a hunting party on the back of an 8-legged horse. Children would leave hay and carrots in their boots for the horse, and in exchange, Odin would leave gifts. However, Odin was not the punisher of naughty children like the contemporary Coca-Cola Santa. Instead, that job was left for the goddess Hel's son, often referred to as Krampus. It's also believed that Krampus resembled the pagan horned god, and the birch sticks that he carries as a connection with the initiation rites of certain witch covens. This demon is said to have one cloven hoof and one human foot, and is often depicted with fur, horns, a long tongue, and tail, and there are even some images where he has fangs. He carries with him a bundle of birch twigs, a sack or a basket, and sometimes a rusty chain. Krampus can also appear as a combination of anthropomorphic animals like a bat or a goat. The image of Krampus is also believed to be tied to a Yule tradition of scaring away winter spirits by donning furs and wood-carved masks. They also ring bells and make tons of noises in order to scare the winter spirits away. This event would later be called Krampusschlacht or Krampus Run. Instead of leaving toys, Krampus is said to have left birch sticks, which parents would keep in the home all year as a reminder to naughty children to behave. And they were left particularly in homes where corporal punishment was practiced. In some cases, he would even beat the children with the sticks, or put the children in sacks or baskets and either throw them into a stream or take them to a fiery place, presumably hell, to torture or eat them. So yes, Krampus was considered a cannibal. I bet not so many children would whine about not having a PS5 if they knew it would lead to them being eaten. Although I don't think it would quite matter to my own children. Like Santa, Christmas monsters are represented in a number of European countries, including France, where they have Hans Trapp and Pierre Fouettard. Germany has Knecht Ruprecht and Belznickel, meaning Fur Nicholas. And this Germanic tradition of Belznickel can also be found in the Pennsylvania Dutch communities today, and they brought them over with them when they immigrated to the U.S. However, these traditions, including Krampus, were eventually seen as too devil-like by the Catholics, and they tried to forbid their celebrations in the 12th century. It wasn't until the 17th century, when the Catholic Church was trying to convert rural populations, that they married the old tradition of Krampus with the Catholic Saint Nicholas, who is the patron saint of children. They did this kind of like as a holiday buddy system, right? So just kind of think of like Lethal Weapon. It's said that these two would travel together through the night of December 5th and 6th. The 5th was called Krampusschnacht, and the 6th was Nicholasdag. Father Christmas would leave gifts, while Krampus would handle the bad kids. This is different than the Santa Claus we know in the U.S., who hands out both gifts for the good and coal for the bad. The fusion took place when Sinterklaas, which was the original name for Santa Claus, came to New York with Dutch immigrants in the early 1800s. By the 1820s, stores began to advertise Christmas shopping, and by the 1840s, newspapers were creating whole sections for holiday advertisement. The effort by commercial industries, with the help of Clement Clarke Moore's 1822 poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," paid off, and the image of Kris Kringle was a hit with American children. However, with a bit of a twist, no Krampus. This malevolent devil was left out of the whole Christmas story owing to the fact that it was too dark. It's also speculated that since our version of Christmas centers around children and the baby Jesus, we are less likely to incorporate a sinister figure like the many Alpine anti-heroes. However, Krampus did enjoy a bit of a revival around the mid to late 19th century in the form of season's greetings cards called Krampus Karten. These cards often depicted frightful scenes of children being stuffed into sacks and carted away, presumably for torture or to be eaten. Some of the children are visibly upset, while others ride in the basket praying. The cards often say Gruß von Krampus or Greetings from Krampus. Other cards are a bit saucier and geared towards adults, as they portray women being courted by Krampus, and in one particular card, Krampus has a very large phallus. Or even Krampus being depicted as a female capturing and torturing men. This celebration would again come under fire from 1934 to 1938 by World War II Austrian fascists, who believed it was unchristian and represented the devil. They also argued that it was invented by social democrats and a direct threat to Hitler. So Krampus was seen as a direct threat to Hitler. Neither of the attempts to squash Krampus celebrations worked, and Krampusnacht, or Krampus Night, has gained popularity in the past 15 years. Parts of Europe, including Austria, Germany, Slovenia, Hungary, and the Czech Republic, are actually seeing a resurgence of Krampusnacht and Krampusschlacht. Parades with men dressed as devils with elaborate carved wooden masks are seen carrying fire, chains, and birch bundles. They chase after the locals and tourists because it is quite a tourist destination, whipping some of them or even sitting on others when they try to escape. There have also been several movies made about Krampus, including a 2015 American movie titled Krampus. Since these movies, Krampus really has exploded into the American pop culture with even more movies, a comic book series, and TV appearances on shows like Venture Brothers, Grimm, Supernatural, American Dad, and The Colbert Report when it was still on. Los Angeles, as well as Orlando, is reported to have quite the Krampus following, complete with annual celebrations and parades. Some believe that he's gaining popularity as current generations are becoming more humbug about the holiday season, and people are tired of the one-dimensional good guy shtick. Or maybe as paganism is gaining traction with more people, they're bringing back the darker, more animal-like side of the season, right? So kind of bringing the season back to its roots, which included Krampus. Another possibility is that Krampus is viewed as an anti-hero who seeks to prevent children from becoming spoiled by rampant consumerism. And I can certainly appreciate this last hypothesis, as my own children have become consumer maniacs. Of course, the gimmies are strong around this time of year. No matter the reason, Krampus has been part of the season before the invention of Christmas. And I can assume that if you're listening to me talk, that means that you have been good all year. So congratulations. And you have avoided his basket and chain. So I hope you enjoyed this talk. I hope you have taken from it a lesson that you can pass on to your children or grandchildren to remind them to behave during this time. Otherwise, it might not be Santa who sees them when they're sleeping. I hope you have a great New Year's and a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Danielle. Yay. That was really interesting, and I must have missed all those pop recent pop culture mentions, although I did notice, maybe it was just me, but Odin in your slideshow looked a lot like Gandalf. We'll have time to talk about, Danielle is with us. That was recorded, but Danielle is with us, so she's agreed to stick around and answer some questions. But right after we induct a new member after the service, so do stick around for that. Thank you so much, Danielle. That was truly wonderful. So we extinguish the chalice here that it might flow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. And you can all, if you would, please join me in our closing words, rising in body or spirit as appropriate. With unity of spirit,
Spirit, we go our ways.
we go our ways in universal fellowship until we meet again. And now Whitaker will play us home with hymn 238, Within the Shining of a Star. And remember, stick around for socializing after the hymn. Whitaker.